chalk.
Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar stories and skillies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, Jordan, and, in a sense, Lucky, Evie, and Shark, and we will get to that in a little bit, why the latter two are only somewhat here. But this is our 69th episode. Nice. And we're discussing the 2003 Chalkzone episode, Draw and Let Draw. So, let's get things started.
Rudy's got the chalk.
Chip, no better way to start than that. So, Chalkzone started life as part of the anthology show Oh Yeah Cartoons that actually gave us Fairly Odd Parents and My Life as a Teenage Robot as well. It's interesting because the latter was meant to be just a one-off cartoon without any potential spin-off idea, but apparently the producers liked it so much that they decided to make the whole thing. But this and Fairly Odd Parents both had several shorts based on it, and whereas Fairly Odd Parents became one of Nickelodeon's most popular shows, this did not, and it didn't because what happened was basically Nickelodeon mistreated this show from the start, because if you notice with the first season episodes, the copyright date at the end says 2000. The show did not air until 2002. They held the show back 2 years, and we still don't know why they did that, which is really, really weird. Maybe they didn't have confidence in it. Maybe they thought that, like, Fairly Odd Parents and Invader Zim would do better. Maybe they just thought...
Honestly, I think they, just put it on, set it off to the side, and it got, buried under paperwork, and it's like, are we forgetting something? Nah. And then usually oh, yeah. Right. All right.
Nickelodeon mistreating one of its shows. Wow, that is so weird. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, so strange that it happens. But basically, this episode is from the third season, and it's a pretty fun one. The thing that Chalkzone is probably best remembered for today is its awesome theme song that is somehow both cheesy and incredibly badass at the exact same time. I don't know how they did it, but they hit that sweet spot of it being absolutely ridiculous, yet at the same time being very, very epic. And once you've heard it, you probably cannot be able to unhear it.
I think it stems from the fact that the people that helmed the show really knew music, and you can tell that because of the 1-minute music video that was at the end of every single episode.
Yeah.
And they covered all kinds of different genres too. And like I say, that was part of the fun of the show too, was that it wasn't like a typical 2 11-minute shorts. It was about 2 8-minute shorts, 1 3-minute short starring Snap, and then it ended with the 1-minute music video, which was a really unique way of formatting a show that I don't think a lot of them did, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Also, Snap is easily one of the best looking and interesting side characters I've ever seen. There's certainly been adorable. A lot, but
he's absolutely adorable. I agree. He is a really, really cute design,
Yeah, but, it's a great design. Man, I don't know what it honestly reminds me of, but man, I can imagine him and Gino next to each other.
That would be a really fun crossover. But getting to this episode, it begins with Rudy working on some chalk drawings on the sidewalk as Penny arrives, noting that the Chalkathon convention is over. Rudy is voiced by E.G. Daly, who is probably best known for being Buttercup on the Powerpuff Girls, as well as...
He kind of sounds a little bit like Pit from Kid Icarus Uprising, not gonna lie.
I don't think it was the same voice actress, but the other interesting thing is E.G. Daly, something else that she was in, was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. She was Pee-wee's girlfriend, Dottie.
Nice.
Yep, nice. That was her. And Penny is voiced by Hynden Walsh, who is also probably best known as voicing Starfire on Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, to a lesser extent.
And Princess Bubblegum.
That too. So what Rudy is doing is basically fixing the drawings. He sees one of a sea monster attempting to attack a boat. The sea monster kind of looks like a cross between Godzilla and Gamera, and we'll find out more about them in a little bit.
Yep.
But what he does is he draws a chain around it to prevent the monster seemingly from attacking a boat. Penny asks Rudy if he should be fixing them, claiming that he doesn't know the artist's original intents, but Rudy retorts, saying that he has a sixth sense about these things. And it's here where we cut to probably one of the most fun parts of the episode, and really the series as a whole, is the flashback in Chalkzone with really showing how things were so creative and inventive and just alive in a way. Because in this flashback, we see a group of beavers with chainsail tails cutting down the candy cane forest. And Rudy mentions that he had to redraw all the candy canes, and the two lips, which are actual lips on stems, haha, are trying to lick the already cut down candy canes. And it goes on like this for a little bit with the flashback. It literally rains cats and dogs as Penny, Snap, and Rudy have to catch them. A giant ear of corn is drawn next to the sun, creating a flood of popcorn. And probably my favorite part, the giant hair monster in the lollipop forest on the windiest day of the year. His hairy form, he looks like that hair monster guy from Looney Tunes. The big red
Gossamer.
guy. Yeah, thank you, Gossamer. Yeah. But it turns out they have to shave him. And when he's shaved, he looks a little like Charlie Brown, which is absolutely hilarious. You know,
yeah, and he's in the barrel like Popeye. It's funny.
Yeah, he has to run away wearing a barrel, and and Rudy says, "Oh, we've never seen him since."
Yeah,
which, again,
it's like greased up deaf guy, except a little less recurring. That scene pretty much shows that not only can Rudy back up his claims, but he has solid proof. So he's not wrong there, but boy, will that come to bite him in the ass later. Yep. Also, just the entire concept of Chalkzone kind of feels like Rakuga Kids, that N64 fighting game Konami made back in the day.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, but, it has that sort of creativity while also being childhood, while also being edgy. Like, seriously, it's a kidified drawing fighting game. Those words together pretty much give you the entire tone of what you're into, and kind of sums up the tone of freaking Chalkzone in a sense.
Nice. But
a little less colorful, but yeah.
I definitely get that vibe from it. But yeah, the interesting thing, like I say, is Chalkzone is a show that really is one of a kind, and that really is creative. It takes probably inspiration from like Harold and the Purple Crayon, and I believe there's also a British show that it also kind of took from, with a boy in a land where he could draw things, anything could happen. But I feel like this takes it to the next level, because it's not just him drawing on a blank canvas. It's an entire world, and it just feels so alive in a way that you really think wouldn't be possible, but it feels so fleshed out, almost as much, if not more so, than the actual real world.
Yeah, it's one of these shows that you can absolutely tell it was made by a guy who loved animation for people that love animation. The creativity of everything, the really well told jokes that work in animation more than they would any other medium. It's one of these things that you can see that it was really well done and thoughtful, rather than, oh, well, we're going to put this in because the chart says.
Exactly.
I'm not asking the chart, we're asking you.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect mention right there. That this feels like a show made with love rather than just made to ride on a social media algorithm. And in a way, it's interesting that no one's tried to do anything with this, but at the same time, it kind of keeps it pure that it didn't, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But getting back to this, Rudy then sees a drawing of a moose about to fall off a building, then puts a rubber ball contraption around it so it won't get hurt. Evidently, Bullwinkle is trying one of his magic tricks again.
Nice.
Had to bring that up. But it turns out that Rudy draws a rubber ball-like contraption around him. He brags about being the protector of Chalkzone and that he's fixing the drawings before they're erased by the street sweeper. Penny decides to leave as Rudy stays behind and goes into Chalkzone to see his handiwork. Rudy sees the moose about to fall off the building as various emergency vehicles arrive, and the moose is continuously bouncing up and down as he begs to be let out of the rubber ball suit. It turns out that, it turns out in a pretty funny detail that it turns out this all happened on a sound stage and the moose was an actor. This is meant to be part of a movie called Fly, Moosey, Fly, and he would not have the giant rubber ball suit on him. He bounces up and down and basically smashes through all the sets of the Chalkzone movie studio. And again, it's one of those things that it's a really cute bit of misdirection that I feel like this show excels at that. You'd think it's going to go in one direction, but then it could go in a completely different one.
Yeah,
but
certainly
in a way that's interesting, though, that it also brings up is the moose actually tells the director that Rudy drew the rubber ball on him, which brings up the point that are the chalk drawings sentient before they're even erased? That would be
acknowledge that.
That would be like I say,
what's going on in the real world.
That is really, when you think about it, really weird that, you can't move, you can't do anything, but you can feel others around you. It's like almost like, the Greek Titans being like giving fire to the humans and that, it's definitely an interesting bit of logic there.
Yeah.
But, yep, the director of the movie basically berates Rudy over ruining everything. And he runs
interesting fact about the director, the first part of his name is literally Cecil B.
Yep.
As in Cecil B. DeMille.
Famous director, probably best known for doing 10 Commandments. But he wants to know what happens, and he goes to a complaint department, which has a very, very long line of other angry drawings. The drawing in front of the director is a lobster with boxing gloves on, which, okay, number one, that is not living like Larry. And number two, why would you put boxing gloves on a lobster to begin with? What damage wouldn't it be able to do more damage? But meanwhile, drawing of a... True. Meanwhile, a drawing of a penguin with earmuffs is erased. Back in Chalkzone, Snap is attempting to calm down all the various drawings, telling them that Rudy will fix them as soon as he gets there. Rudy hides behind a prop tree as he watches on, and the penguin is erased and he winds up in Chalkzone, where, thanks to the earmuffs, the penguin can't hear anything because it's covering it up. Rudy mentions that he drew it because he thought that the penguin's ears would be cold, but the penguin is dragged to the back of the line as Rudy gets Snap's attention. There's a pretty good gag with us Snap being so proud of being considered so important that, you delegated all your tasks to me. Thank you so much for that. Before he realizes that, Rudy screwed up majorly by trying to fix the drawings that did not really need to be fixed at all. Yep, he decides to try and fix the fixes that he already made as they all approach him angrily. The first two drawings that approach him are two cars that are stood up on their back wheels. Rudy mentions that he did that because they were trying to crash into each other, only to find out that they're bumper cars and they're meant to crash into each other. In a little bit of an interesting reference, I don't know if it's an intentional or not, they look a little bit like the bumper cars from the Sledgehammer music video, the one with Peter Gabriel, the stop-motion bumper cars. They kind of look a little bit like an approximation of that, which would have been a pretty fun reference if it was.
That would be interesting. So,
knowing this show's humor, that would not shock me if that was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But then we get to my favorite of the fixed drawings. This is one that actually got a really good laugh out of me, enough to where I actually had to pause the video and basically rewind it. What happens is that it turns out that there is a vampire with corks on his fangs and holding a dog, then approaches Rudy. Rudy mentions that the vampire looks like he was about to bite the dog, but in a hilarious twist that, again, really got a good laugh out of me, the vampire reveals that the dog was his pet and that he was going to use his fangs to open up his dog's food. He bangs the can against his now useless fangs and starts crying, which, again, that got a really good laugh out of me,
Interesting thing about him,
no one could have seen that one coming.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one could have seen that someone coming. Also, his voice sounds very nearly... It's probably the same voice actor, actually, but he sounds a lot like Count Spankulot.
Probably was Jeff Bennett, come to think of it.
It probably was.
Yeah,
it
does sound a lot like him. It very well could be. I didn't see in the credits, but,
Yeah, I didn't see it
that's
either.
another good thing there. Other drawings that are angry at Rudy, including a shark with rope around its mouth, a cow with a cast on, and a skunk that does not seem to have everything wrong with it. The street cleaner approaches the sea monster as Rudy realizes that he has to erase the chain on it before it's too late. He tries leaving Chalkzone to fix it, but doesn't make it in time, and the entire area gets flooded.
Yep.
Now, because it's chalk water rather than water, all the chalk drawings are saved, thankfully. The other drawings make it onto a tower, and the sea monster is wailing and crying as she's chained to a lighthouse, which might be another reference to the Ray Bradbury short story, The Foghorn. And spoilers, this is not going to be the last time we bring this up in the context of this podcast. Not this episode, but this podcast, so stay tuned for that. Rudy remarks that this fix might have actually worked until he sees a giant ocean liner about to smash into a gigantic popsicle. And the ship's crew begs for Sally the sea monster to save them. And now we get to our titular Sally, who she has a really cute design, in my opinion. Basically, the best way to describe it is imagine if you asked a small child to draw a dragon. This is basically an approximation of what you would get. She's very sweet looking, and it's very, very simplistic, but it's meant to be simplistic, so it really does work in its favor.
That's where I think that the chalk motif of this series really, really worked. You could have very simple designs that were cheap and easy to draw, but they look really good in this style and in this world. So it actually makes sense.
I agree.
Also, real quick, what the boat is running into is an ice cream berg.
Yep, the
It's
show
the
loves its
Titanic.
puns like that. Classic. But Sally the Sea Monster, also, we get to hear her at this point. She has a very unique voice. She actually reminded me a little bit of June Foray with her performances as Gundamar and the Dragoness from Gummy Bears. I actually had to look in the credits to make sure it wasn't her because I actually was shocked. I was like, wait a minute, did they get June Foray for this show? But it turns out they did not. Her voice actress is named Jodie Carsale, and she's probably best known for voicing the mom on Wild Thornberrys. So she probably had an in with Nickelodeon there.
Oh yeah, that definitely checks out. Also, the voice they give her here, just honestly,
it's a really lovely one. Yeah,
yes.
Like I said, it really does remind me of June Foray's performances as the previous two Dragonesses that we mentioned. It is so close. It's not like a one-on-one, but it's close enough to where I really actually confused me, which good on her for sounding like that.
I have a feeling it was an intentional reference that she was doing with that. Like, she had heard June Foray's performances as other dragons before and was like, oh, okay, this is how I should do it.
Nice.
Yep, that definitely makes a lot of sense. But what happens is the ship hits the popsicle and it begins to sink as its crew falls in the water. Sally realizes that she must save them, and she manages to rip off the tip of the lighthouse, which causes it to collapse into the water. This, in turn, kind of floods out the entire area as Rudy realizes that, of course, he shouldn't have messed with other people's drawings because now he just made a huge mess of literally everything. And we get the Snap's iconic catchphrase, probably the other thing that most people remember about this show. Rudy, you gotta draw something! Forgive me for my terrible, terrible impression.
Rudy, you gotta draw something!
Yeah, and it's also here, probably should have mentioned this earlier, but Snap's voice actress is actually Candy Milo, who is absolute legend in her own right. She voiced Dexter in the post-Tarkovsky episodes of Dexter's Lab. She voiced Nora on My Life as a Teenage Robot, and basically she has done so much animation that you definitely have heard her in something. And
she basically voiced my favorite character here. So, mad props to that.
Very good. Anyway, sorry, Matt, what were you saying?
The Snap voice, and this is from young me that's saying this. It sounds like she's doing a Rosie O'Donnell impression.
I'll bet.
I do not know who that is, so I couldn't say about that.
I briefly know who that is, but it's been a while that I don't really remember all that much.
Yep, but no, that's
American.
Yep, it's all good. But Rudy then swims underwater as he creates a drain. The ship's crew nearly gets sucked in, but Sally the sea monster decides to save them all. And, hey there, Stryker. Forgive me for saying this, but Stryker has made it to the recording. How's it going?
Pretty good. Thought I'd jump in.
Oh, okay. It's all good. We're talking about the episode right now.
Awesome.
What we talked about Sally the Sea Monster and how basically she appeared in the episode and how she's saving the ship's crew from being sucked into the underwater drain.
I remember this scene. This was an awesome scene.
Yeah, it really is. And like I say, the music score also helps too. The
music hits hard.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, a little bit of a tiny tangent here, about the Chalkzone music, Originally, the music on the show was going to be played with like childlike instruments like xylophones and stuff like that. But apparently, Nickelodeon executives did one of the few changes that actually made sense. They decided to add a techno soundtrack, which actually works better, way better.
Oh yeah,
because it actually, the artificialness of it actually fits the Chalkzone really, really well.
Yeah, and also again, Rakuga kids, edgy ass kids drawing fighting game.
Yeah.
I definitely can see that. After saving the ship's crew and a very cute moment with Sally the sea monster hugging the ship, Rudy then refixes the other drawings off screen. There's a bit of a weird transition here that I don't know why they did it. Maybe it was to save on time. From Rudy holding up his chalk to him just walking along with Penny. As he mentions that it took him hours to fix all the other drawings. The pair then stop as they see a little girl making a chalk drawing of a teddy bear being dropped into a volcano.
Oh dear.
Rudy claims he learned his lesson as he begs Penny to take him away before he changes it. But it turns out there's a really cute little twist to it. The episode ends with it turning out that the teddy bear really was in trouble as it screams in terror before it irises out, which, again, a really, really cute little subversion gag here, which, again, as mentioned earlier, Chalkzone really, really did well.
Yeah, Chalkzone absolutely smashed when it came to a lot of things.
It did. I still remember the show fondly because of a lot of things that they did in the show.
Yeah, and also Snap. Can't forget him.
Yep.
Oh, Snap is a legend.
Yeah,
absolutely. And again, like we mentioned earlier, he has a really great design, and really all the designs on this show were well done because they were simplistic. But like Math said earlier, they were simplistic, but they were simplistic enough to where it worked. I feel like if you had gone like a little more too detailed, it wouldn't seem in place of it being a world of chalk drawings. But if you went too simple, it would seem a little cheap. They hit that sweet spot.
They hit it. Yeah, they hit it just right. It's simple, but it feels like something that a child would draw.
Exactly. And like I say, Chalkzone was a really, really fun show as a whole. But as I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, it really got screwed over by Nickelodeon. And nowhere is this evident than what happened with its next season. Its fourth season didn't even air until 2005, but they only aired 5 episodes before suddenly stopping, and Nickelodeon just sat on the rights for years. The remaining episodes finally did air on the Nicktoons network in 2008 at the dead of night, literally just to air it at like 2 a.m. to burn it off so we can sit on the IP. If you remember in Smiling Friends with what happened with Gwimbly, this is basically what Nickelodeon did with Chalkzone.
I was just gonna reference that. It's my IP to sit on and do nothing with.
You want a chicken nugget?
Fuck you! You want a chicken nugget?
Yeah. I swear to God, if I had my Gwimbly gun right now.
Yeah, I swear to God, I know, right?
Exactly, but no. It's sad that it's so accurate, especially with Nickelodeon, what they do with a lot of shows, including Chalkzone, because, again, this show deserved way, way better. I mean, would it have been probably as a phenomenon as SpongeBob or Fairly OddParents or as popular as Jimmy Neutron or My Life as a Teenage Robot? Maybe not, but it deserved a shot nonetheless. I feel like right out of the gate, it got pretty much hit pretty hard. And it kind of stumbled its way after that. And the show it's not unpopular, but it's definitely one of the more obscure Nicktoons. And it really is a shame because it gets like no representation today. Like there's no nostalgia stuff for it, no merchandise. There's not a
complete series on DVD. But it was never restocked, unfortunately.
Yep, so that was probably to burn out the rights. But they're not in the Nick All-Star Brawl game, which is very surprising considering the amount of potential they'd have as fighters, Snap or Rudy. And like I say,
Snap would have been one of the fan favorite characters. And
oh hell yeah!
Definitely.
Also, that whole Gwimbly thing kind of applies to Chalkzone because. Good lordy, that show got freaking robbed hard. Honestly, I kind of imagine Snap being the whole Gwimbly character. Not gonna lie.
It definitely would work. Oh God, now I'm imagining him.
Yeah,
I'm imagining him. I could do my iconic Snap catchphrase for only $5. I could do it for free if you want. Rudy, you gotta draw something. Okay, I can do one more for free. Rudy, you gotta draw something.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue that
I can almost imagine him hearing, I swear to God, if I had my Snap gun, I'd...
Okay, yeah. Sorry, Matt, what were you saying? Sorry about that.
I think the biggest issue was the network thought that it was one thing and it was actually another, because I remember the advertising for this show really leaning into, oh, this is for young kids, it looks cute, toony, all that kind of stuff, when in reality, this show, especially for how creative and how much you could tell the love of animation was just flowing forth through this, it was made more for teens and young adults who appreciated animation rather than, oh, hey, let's just put on something bright and colorful for the kiddies.
Yeah, that is perfectly said right there.
It was relatable.
Oh, hell yeah. Also, a little thing I noticed about the show, they kind of do a little thing where, like, the chalk lines have, like, those little, like, white streaks in them, or, like, those blank streaks in them, but it's like, oh gosh, it's a style that Chowder used for some of its character designs, like clothing designs. Like,
it's the fucking dimension of their fabric.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
right?
I always forget what that is called, but it's where effectively they layer the background onto the clothing so that the clothing patterns will effectively follow that, or it will follow the background rather than having to draw that every single time.
Exactly.
Exactly right. So, yeah, no, but unfortunately, like I say, Chalkzone is definitely a show that deserves way more love because, again, as we've reiterated several times, it's just such a creative thing. And it's very surprising that Nickelodeon hasn't done anything with it, which ties back to Smiling Friends and that it's my IP to sit on and do nothing with. But they literally have done absolutely nothing with anything of it for years. And
absolutely nothing!
Yeah, basically, they have done literally next to nothing with this franchise. And it's a shame because it had so much potential. And what we got was really, really good. But it's like what could have been kind of thing.
Yeah, I know.
That kind of leads
add him to freaking Nick's All-Stars for crying out loud.
Definitely, yeah. That's a great thing right there. But that's going to lead into the question of the week, which is what underrated Nicktoons do you remember and why? And I'm going to go first, and I'm probably going to give one that's one that a lot of people probably isn't going to think of, is going to be Action League Now, which was really a lot of fun. That was the show with a bunch of stop motion. If you haven't seen it, it's a bunch of action figures as superheroes. It's all done in like stop motion, and it is absolutely one of the most hilarious things ever. As a kid, I would laugh so hard at some of the bits that they did with them, and every single episode, every single one would have them get either smashed to pieces or destroyed in some ridiculous way because they were action figures. They could get away with this in a way that they probably couldn't with the drawing or that. But this show was absolutely unhinged at the best of times. It was like, imagine Robot Chicken, but for a younger audience and not as obsessed with the 80s. I feel like that's the best way I could describe Action League Now, because it was it also was probably a parody of the whole superhero genre before it became really like a huge, huge thing again. And again, the characters are really funny. And even, like I say, the final episode was a hilarious one where it was a clip show, but it was one that had a really winking to the audience in that, because one of the gags of Action League Now is that they would have a narrator that describes all their actions before and after the break of the show. And in this one, they had probably a line that got a really good laugh out of me. You know, Action League in trouble deep. High commissioners, big creeps, reusing all the scenes from the old episodes really cheap.
Nice. Anybody remember the Stephen King parody episode?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I have not heard of this show before today, so I would not be able to answer that.
You have got to check it out. It is funny as hell, and you can actually find. Yeah, like I say, it is really, really funny. And the interesting thing is, it started out as a series in a show called Kablam, which is probably which was an anthology show of a bunch of different short cartoons in that. And aside from the horror fest that is Angelica Anaconda, we do not speak its name.
Oh god! Oh god!
This was
Action League Now.
Action League Now was the only other show to actually get a spinoff of it. Believe it or not. And the interesting thing, the spinoff, it wasn't any original material. It really was just all the shorts from the Kablam episodes compiled into one place with like little maybe 15-second vignettes in between the segments. But like I say, it's a lot of fun. You know, it definitely is a show that is very, very obscure. Again, it's another one that I don't even think like Chalkzone. I think that Action League Now even has less things than that. But it is really, really funny, and I highly recommend it because it is just an absolute laugh riot. I think that you could show it to kids today, it would hit their sense of humor dead on because it's really just these four superhero characters being the most inept superhero team possible. There's another episode where parodies of the Thunderbirds show up. I believe that's what they were supposed to be, like parodies of the Thunderbirds.
Nightbird would like that, honestly.
Yeah, and they show up the Action League and being better than them in every single way. And the episode ends with the Thunderbird team basically flying away before their ship gets hit by a bus, and the Action League are happy because now they're back in action again, and the narrator is upset at this. It's absolutely classic that the narrator actually.
Man, that reminds me of that one Voltron parody that freaking Seth Green did. Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I forget the name, but good lord, it's honestly kind of hilarious. Like, it's probably not as funny as Action League Now, but oh man, it's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, but it is a classic show. That's definitely gonna be my pick because it is so funny. Yo,
good pick. Not gonna lie.
Definitely is gonna be mine. So, Angron, what would you say is your favorite underrated Nickelodeon show?
Oh boy, that's gonna be a tough one because I'm not that versed in Nickelodeon stuff. Not gonna lie. Though. I will give the freaking spotlight to oh god, I kind of want to say it's Pony because even though it's like not as comfortable, it's not as comfortable as something like say Peanuts or something like that. It's got its charm. I didn't hate watching any of the episodes, but I didn't really feel too. But there were some moments where I didn't feel too thrilled watching that. Like it didn't thrill me too much. And I kind of want to also say Korra because even though like it has its flaws, it still has the charm. It's still made by the same people who made Avatar: The Last Airbender, and as far as sequels to the series go, you could do a lot worse. And it's honestly pretty fun. Like, good lordy, like the casting they did for that series is pretty amazing. Not gonna lie, and the stuff they tackle, despite being a little unfocused, still melded it together pretty well, all things considered. But I am going to play it safe, and I'm going to give it to My Life as a Teenage Robot. It's basically it's made by the same person who worked on Samurai Jack, made that little X-Files furry short, and also worked on Gravity Falls, fun fact.
Rob Renzetti, he also worked on Friends of His Magic. He basically has had his hand in so many popular shows, and again, like you said, Teenage Robot is a show that had way more potential, and I'm surprised Japan has actually never tried to tackle Teenage Robot because it is huge over there, and infamously the Powerpuff Girls got an anime spin-off. I'm surprised that Teenage Robot never did because
I'm surprised about that too. Like, it's made in the same style as freaking more or less Powerpuff Girls, but good lordy, like that's a missed opportunity. And you also reminded me of the freaking Japanese episodes with Samurai Vac and I think those freaking robot Jiangxis. Oh man, that was
Yeah, no,
wild.
that's a great choice right there.
Oh,
Teenage
yeah.
Robot is
And I'm
is a
also kind of
classic.
sad that they don't continue that because like they're like the series finale really set things up for like a future season and like they did nothing with it.
They had plans. They had a lot of plans for
Oh
this.
hell yeah! They had
And
plans upon plans upon plans.
It's a shame. Well, like and they never actually got the chance to do it. It's definitely a shame that again, Teenage Robot was another show that unlike Chalkzone, it did get a lot of promotion early on, but it's like Nickelodeon got tired of it really, really quickly. And this is, I guess it was around the time where Nickelodeon basically adopted the strategy of if it's not as popular as SpongeBob, get rid of it. And it's for this reason now that Nickelodeon now had to buy alternate IPs like Garfield and the Smurfs and friggin' Star Trek of all things to try and get people to actually watch Nickelodeon because they realized we shot ourselves in the foot too much.
Yeah. That honestly is kind of the deal with not only Nickelodeon, but Paramount in general. It's that old person trying to be hip and cool and keep up with the times so that it doesn't fall behind. But more times than not, that sort of line of thinking can make it fall flat on its face sometimes, which, yeah, kind of sums up. Honestly, it kind of relates to that. I kind of relate freaking. Let me think here. I relate Paramount with freaking Sega. They're both trying to remain mainstream, and sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And that's kind of a shame because the times that it does work, they're amazing. Transformers Rise of the Beast was amazing. Mutant Mayhem, good lord, how they tackled it was amazing. I know Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was pretty amazing. I have not seen a single episode of it, but I've heard good things. Loud House and Casa Grandes, despite fumbling later on, are still pretty good. And yeah, a lot of the line, and also Star Trek Lower Decks. Just good lordy, there's a lot of potential, but they skimp on it so hard.
Yeah, like you said,
it's like Sega. Like Sega.
It's a shame. Absolute shame right there. But yeah, I've definitely that's a great choice right there with Teenage Robot because that I think is probably the most best known show and is the best known show that got screwed by Nickelodeon. So yeah, that's gonna be a good choice. Stryker, what do you have to say is your favorite underrated Nicktoon and why?
I was gonna say Rocko's Modern Life, but I forgot how popular that show was. So I'm gonna have to probably agree with Shark on should not have said that, but like still like
no, sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Kappa Mikey.
Ooh, interesting. Any reasons as to why?
I still remember growing up with this show, and it's just I feel like it's like one of the more legendary Nickelodeon shows. I miss watching this. It just it feels like Nickelodeon did this show dirty by
Wait, what show is it called?
Kappa Mikey.
Oh, that's right. I have never heard of that or Action League.
It's kind of like a weird anime style with random old cartoon style. This character Mikey got picked to be in this Japan series, and everyone else is like, "Oh my god, anime style!" He's like an old classic cartoon style, and everyone's like, "Wait, so you're a new leader, I guess, or a new teammate?" And it's been a while. I know what it is, but it's just been so long since I've seen it. I'm like, wow, yeah, I remember this wacky cartoon show.
It's just I remember this show fondly, and like fairly recently they uploaded the MTV pilot to YouTube, and like it was very different. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I prefer the Nickelodeon show because it just felt right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is another show that they did not release on DVD, except for
Shame.
Lost in Translation, but that's just a collection of episodes.
Shame. Because yeah, like I said, it seems like it's a lot of fun, and it definitely is. Made at a certain. I think it only could be made at the time when it was made, but at the same time, it is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And again, it's a shame that it got the treatment it got because, again, it's a really funny show. I vaguely remember seeing it. I don't remember being too into it, but from what I've seen of clips and bits and pieces online, it really seems funny. Like, it's really wittier than it has any right to be.
And of course, the opening theme is legendary as well because it was actually made by a Japanese band known as the Beat Crusaders.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
that's pretty neat. That's a nice attention to detail.
They also did like a theme a theme song for 2 animes.
Oh, which ones were those?
Opening 6 of Bleach.
Oh,
and
nice.
And the opening theme of Beck. Beck is an anime about a group of Japanese kids wanting to become a famous rock band in America.
Nice.
Interesting. I have never heard of that one, but it definitely sounds interesting.
Oh yeah. And funny, since they are Japanese, they sing in English.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh yeah. It's just I'm very passionate about this shit, so of course.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We're all passionate about stuff.
I get that.
We get it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep. Nope, that's a really good choice right there. So, Math, what would your pick be?
So this was really popular on its release, but since it has faded into absolute nothingness, the only time you ever hear this show brought up is when it's old hat animation people like myself. Hey Arnold.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah,
Hey Arnold was great.
Oh,
Hey Arnold was
Arnold.
absolutely great.
It was
any show. Sorry, go ahead.
It was such a creative and introspective show. It's the kind of show you never see anymore. One of those deep, methodical shows. The Pigeon Man episode is everyone's go-to for that, but there were just so many good episodes, even in its later seasons. Helga's Therapy was in
that one I remember. That was a beautiful episode, the therapist one.
And it's one of these shows that it was so good and so creative, and the movie is what killed it. Because the movie did not do the numbers that Paramount was wanting, they just shit-canned the whole thing right then and there. And it's been destroyed ever since.
Yeah.
Absolute shame.
It's also sad because there's a certain episode where, like, ever since, there was a character in that never appeared in the later seasons since.
Which one? But yeah, like I said, Math, Hey Arnold really was such a deep, introspective show. Yet at the same time, it also wasn't afraid to have a little bit of cartoon antics. Not like overly cartoon antics, but it had some really, really funny stuff. And the go-to example I always go to is the episode where Arnold befriends the rich man, and he finds out that he has a lonely photographer's son who they don't get along, and Arnold takes mends to try and get the two to get along, and they eventually do reconcile, and it's very, very sweet. But you think the episode ends with the father and the son hugging as they finally learn to basically accept each other's differences in that? But nope. The episode ends with the absolute legend that is Mr. Egg Cream, the robot that the rich guy has that makes egg creams, showing up randomly to Arnold's house. Your egg cream, Mr. Red Man. I don't want an egg cream. I want a giant sack of money. It's something that it's just so ridiculous on the face of it, but yet it is so funny, and but it manages to be both sweet and heartwarming, and then at the same time, it could do something totally unexpected like that is just hysterical, that moment made me laugh so hard as a kid because I was not expecting it after such a sweet, understated ending to have a little bit of a final moment that just blasts you in the face with like a ridiculousness.
The writers knew when to use jokes and how to use them in this kind of deep, thoughtful show.
Oh yeah. I was very disappointed with the Jungle movie, unfortunately.
I actually still have not seen it. I have not gotten around to seeing it.
It was their attempt to revive the series. Nick had so little faith in it, they gave it to Netflix, and while decent, it never got the viewership that Nick wanted to revitalize the series.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No.
What an absolute shame.
It was terrible.
And they did the same thing with Rocco and with Invader Zim. They dumped all three of them on Netflix.
Actually, they aired the Jungle movie on TV.
Oh, nice. I think
Zim
Invader Zim worked a little better though as a finale.
Yeah,
Invader Zim
same.
and Rocco's Modern Life got dumped on Netflix, and they were better. Like, it's like, why didn't you air these on TV?
Yeah.
Probably because they just, like I say, they had no faith in any of it. They just said, let's just scrap it and, get the money and run.
Or they were trying to be hip and do what everyone else was doing, and it just backfired.
They only announced the Jungle movie on TV, and then we got nothing of the Rocco and Invader Zim movies for months.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that definitely is a shame, and like I definitely can see where you're coming from, but yeah, that is a great choice right there. Hey Arnold is one of those shows that it's a classic for a reason, and it is a shame that it's not better remembered. Come to think of it, it really is.
Yeah.
Because
it is rarely brought up. Thinking about it,
it is a really big shame,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely gonna mention. Yeah, that's a great choice. I'm definitely gonna try and see if I could rewatch some Hey Arnold because that really brought that back to me. How understated it was. So, Jordan, what would you pick for your favorite underrated cartoon?
I think mine probably has to be Cousin Skeeter. I had to look up like all the old classic cartoons of Nickelodeon that I remember watching, and I remember Cousin Skeeter was one of them for a bit. It's about
I can see that.
With his cousin and he and his family, both of them get into all sorts of funny situations. Cousin Skeeter's like a puppeteer, Muppet design, and it was kind of funny back in those times for Skeeter and do all these mischievous adventures.
That reminds me of Mongrels, like the Muppet-esque sort of inspiration.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks very familiar, actually.
I'm looking at pictures of it. It does seem very familiar. It like I said, I've seen that puppet. I've seen it somewhere before. But I've never seen the actual show. But I know I've seen this puppet somewhere. Like did he do a crossover or something? Because
I don't know.
That's the only thing I can think of.
He was a very popular character. He was in several commercials. He was in several music videos. He got everywhere for some weird reason.
So apparently, I guess it was like some executive thought that it was going to be the next big thing. Kind of like, ironically enough, what happened with the Cat Dog. To go on a very brief little tangent here. When in the late 90s, Nickelodeon was convinced that Cat Dog was going to be an absolute smash success to the extent where they announced over 100 episodes of it were greenlit before its first season had even aired. And they also gave about 13 to 24 episodes of some little obscure show that they didn't really care about. You might have heard of it, called SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah, it turns out that kids did not like Cat Dog. They liked SpongeBob, which you can obviously see why. And I'm not saying the Cat Dog's a bad show, but it's like they really thought that was going to be a monster hit, that kids were going to buy all sorts of Cat Dog merchandise and Cat Dog video games and that. It really speaks to how some executives could be out of touch,
Yeah, that's pretty much Paramount in a nutshell.
Yep.
Out of touch.
Yep, in a way.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, my probably favorite old classic cartoon of Nicktoons would probably be Cousin Skeeter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, that's a really good choice right there.
Been a lot of interesting choices on this thing so far.
Yep, definitely.
I haven't seen that show in a long ass time, man.
Like I say, I know the puppet. I know him from somewhere, but it's gonna really bug me where this guy came
bug
from.
the shit out of you.
Exactly.
Skater, it came out in the 1998 and it ended in 2002. Only 52 episodes of the whole thing, and they only gave it like a 6.8 rating on the TV show. And it had Brian Ribbons, other great actors who did the show. I just remember when I was a kid watching this show, and I'm like, oh, it was funny. It's what any normal living in a family is like. You have one cousin who's gonna be the crazy nut job, and it's got to be a puppet. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, checks out. That absolutely checks out.
It definitely does. I can see why.
Yep.
So, also, as I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, I mentioned that both Lucky Evie and Shark were here in a way because both of them gave the answers to the questions. Shark's answer is a tie between the previously mentioned Kappa Mikey and also Harvey Beaks. That is another really good choice right there.
Especially because, that classic.
Poor Greenblatt, who also worked on some of the funniest episodes of SpongeBob.
And Chowder.
I was just about to mention that. The absolute legend show that is Chowder. Unfortunately, Nickelodeon had little faith in it after it aired, and it immediately didn't get SpongeBob numbers with its first episode. They just shuffled it around to 50 million different time slots, and they just didn't care. It really is a shame. And Harvey Beaks is a show that it's really funny, but it also has a very sort of charm to it that's kind of hard to explain. If you go into it expecting Chowder Part 2, it's not. It has more of a, I guess, children's book vibe to it, where at the same time, it's its own thing. It's one in a million, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely, that is a great choice right there. And Lucky Evie's choice for the underrated Nicktoon is another interesting one. It is Cat Scratch, a show which I only saw very little of.
Yeah,
From
me
the
too.
Creator
But
of Earthworm Jim, no less.
Really interesting.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, the video game, might I add, not the TV show.
That checks out.
Oh
nice.
And he did some comic books before working on Cat Scratch, which I gotta remember which comic it was based on, but I know that Cat Scratch was based on a set of comics.
That's interesting. Like I say, I very vaguely remember it because I only remember watching maybe a couple of episodes. I remember really liking what I saw, especially because of the comedy in that, and also the character designs. But
there's this one episode that I remember where this white and orange short stock cat gets catapulted into 3 separate Hydra heads.
Oh dear God! Yeah, it goes bizarre. This show.
I mean, so did Earthworm Jim, so not surprised.
Yep.
The comic was called Gear, and the creator is Doug Tennipple.
Okay.
Doug Tennipple. Gotcha.
Yep.
Doug Tennipple.
Tennipple.
What legendary in the media industry? He's not such a great guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is. Like I say, you like his stuff, but the man himself is not a good guy. That's
great artist, terrible person, probably.
Exactly. I will still defend the Earthworm.
I certainly know a few. But yeah,
but no, those are both really great choices there. And now it is time for our Dragoness scale, where we rank the Dragoness from 1 to 10, or rather, in this case, female sea monster, Sally Sea Monster. I'm gonna give her probably. This is a tough one because she has a big role in the episode, but yet she doesn't. It's a weird kind of paradox. It's hard to describe, but she is the main focus of the episode in a sense. but she's also part of an ensemble. It sounds, again, like I'm kind of talking in circles here, but once you've seen the actual episode, you probably get what I'm talking about. But the design is adorable. She has a really, really like childlike, basically design, while it's having it still being very visually appealing. And the voice is great. The voice definitely boosts it. I am actually going to give her a 7 out of 10 after pretty hard thinking about it, because I really do like the voice. I like the design. What she does get to do is a lot of really nice stuff. The fact that she's considered a hero to these chalk stick people is a really cute idea. And it's kind of a shame that I think she made only one more appearance in the show. I think it was in a Snap segment, although I'll have to research that further. If so, maybe we'll talk about that sometime in the future, even though that's a 3-minute short. But yeah, for this episode alone, I'm going to give her a 7 out of 10 because I really did enjoy what we got of her. It was a shame we didn't get more, but then again, they only had 8 minutes. So I guess proportionate to runtime, that's probably going to be a good one. So Stryker, Angron rather, what would you have to give her?
That is a very interesting question. But I'm probably going to do the same, honestly. Yeah, 7 out of 10, basically. She, great voice, great character, honestly. The design very much fits within the world she's within. And yeah, I do agree that like she could have had more time, and honestly, the design, it's great, but there's a little something that's holding it back a little bit, not gonna lie. Though, that being said, and also the whole quality over quantity thing kind of does it a bit for me, because like she's not all there for the most part, but she's easily the best part of the show, and what she does again is very impressive. So yeah, absolutely gonna give her a 7 out of 10 as well.
Great choice right there. So Math, what would you have to give her?
I'm actually going 8.
Oh.
I fully admit that I am probably overrating this character. A good bit of this based around nostalgia, because I loved this series growing up. And I actually love it more as an adult, because I can see all the creativity now that I missed as a kid. The style and the design of her is simplistic, but it works so well in this setting, and she has a very distinct look from all the other characters. So that just really helps with that. And this is almost like a character tailor-made for me, because I am a sucker for these let's give the Dragoness an older British sounding voice. That'll work. Like, I really love when characters sound like that. It just works so well. Please, can we get more dragons that just talk like this? Thank you.
Yeah. So if only.
No kidding. I fully admit I am probably overrating her, but this is one of those times where it just really works for me.
It's your opinion, dude.
Hey, man.
Do what?
Yeah.
All you.
All good. All
your
good.
Opinion. You don't need to worry about that.
The issue is it's still an 8 because still too short on runtime and not as fleshed out as I'd like, but otherwise I got no complaints.
Great choice right there. Yeah, I definitely can see why. Let's see. Stryker, what would you give Sally Sea Monster?
I thought the design was cute. I will say that, but in my opinion, I'm giving her a 6 because she really needed more screen time.
Yeah, I can see that.
Interesting. Like I say, yeah, I can kind of see why too, because again, she didn't get too much screen time, but at the same time, I definitely can see why that she would get higher than a 5 out of 10 because of the voice and the design in that, and that really clicks.
For sure.
Yeah. Yep. So, Jordan, what would you give Sally Sea Monster?
Give her 7 out of 10.
Any particular reason for that?
Well, one, she indeed needs more screen time, and I love her voice actor that did her. I mean, the design's like, okay, it's kiddish, we get it, but I just give her a 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's a good one. And I'm also going to read from the Sharks post, which thankfully he wrote his score and the reason why he gave it, which is a big help. He says that, and this is quoting verbatim from him, the character gets an 8 out of 10. Her design is simple yet cute, and it has an in-reason universe to be simple. She was drawn on the floor like a kid. I like that she isn't just a drawing that Rudy has to fix, but that she has an important role in the climax, which is a very good point right there. Yep. He also goes on to say that, I do wish she had a bit more of screen time, and she pretty much disappears without notice when she serves her purpose, which is, again, true. But, yeah, that is a really good score for her all around. And
yeah, big score.
Sorry about that. Score.
Oh, good.
Okay. But also, let's talk about Lucky Evie's score. He gives her a 3 out of 10, and the reason for that is because he says that the design is a little bit too simplistic for him. But, it's all good. Everyone has their own opinions on that.
Yeah.
We can understand why, with it being so simplistic. So, that's going to be it for this week's episode. If you have any questions, or if you want to see what a Chalkathon convention is like, you can email us at fiorydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fiorydiscourse, or subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Ludmillanon, and listen to the playlist of other episodes there. Next time, we'll be discussing the 1941 Disney animated movie / short film, The Reluctant Dragon, in honor of Pride Month. That's going to be a really fun episode right then. And it's going to be the first and probably only time we're going to be talking about a male dragon on the podcast.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
That alone is going to be really interesting to see. So, yep, that's going to be it for this week. And thank you guys so much for listening. And until then, take care.
Laters.
Adios.
Later.
Have a nice week, and see you next week for Reluctant Dragon.
Mm-hmm.